Hello and welcome to an important episode of Backstage with Boria with Venki Baiso. Plenty of questions to ask him, and this is his first interview. This is his first interview since the retention process. Yes, we have seen him give some bites which were put out by the KKR nightclub. A lot of us have carried it, including our platform. But to ask him and in that interview, let me also say he was diplomatic. I'm saying it in front of him. He was diplomatic and very rightly so. But in this particular interview, I requested Mr. Mysore to be candid as he has always been with me. We share an extremely good rapport. So, in that sense, people might say, this is between friends, but that's not the case. We'll ask him the questions, then it's on him whether he wanted to answer them or not. Mr. Mysore, everybody is asking this. Why did you leave Shreyas Iyer? He was your captain. He won you the IPL. In an interview with me 2 days after winning the IPL, you praised him to the skies. You said how important he was. Why did you leave Shreyas Iyer?
The interesting thing about retentions, I mean, there are so many aspects to it and forces at play. But I think what is fundamental to a retention that most people don't sometimes understand, many people do, but some don't, is that, it's a matter of mutually agreeing, This is not only it's not a one-sided right that the franchise has, and the player has to also consider various factors and agree, So somewhere along the line, if that agreement doesn't happen because of various factors, money, or somebody wants to test their value or whatever it is, that influences that decision also eventually. But he was number one on our list, so to say, because obviously he's captain and we have to build everything around the leadership, and we picked him specifically in 22 for that. Unfortunately, he was injured in 23. When he came back, the moment he came back, he got his captaincy back. It was we made it very clear that it's yours when you come back. So he's been a very integral part, done a terrific job. I enjoy a personal rapport with him. But end of the day, people also have to make their own decisions and decide on what's best for them and the direction that they want to go. And the commercial value, etc., is a very important aspect of it. So when you put it all together, it's we've been very fortunate over the years. I've done this for 14 years. I tell people I've been in 14 auctions. This will be my 15th. But this was the most stressful one, just because of the way rules have been formulated. They're very different this time. Very different, the rules. And, we had made certain recommendations and it came back a certain way. So I'm all for players wanting to determine what the right market value is, and nobody knows what it is, but only when they go into the auction. The auction is a fantastic marketplace where 10 franchises who all have their own priorities. They have a certain amount of purse, which is all equal, where you start off on equal terms, and then you go in there, and then in that process, the player's value gets determined. So I'm all for that, and I think that's how it should be. So, it's all of these are factors that come into making one decision, and in this case, it so happened that he felt it was the best, and we are always supportive of whatever the players want. That go and test yourself in the auction as far as what the value is, and that's kind of how it played out.
There was a narrative that, and I asked you this question a couple of days back, and you mentioned to me that, and you've now again mentioned it, that he was first on your list. There was a narrative that KKR did not want him, that they did not get in touch with him. Can you publicly sort of...
these narratives, unfortunately, I don't pay attention to most of it, because unfortunately there are, I think people like to just say quote sources, whatnot. All of these things, during this time, there's so much excitement around the subject that it's okay. One doesn't pay attention to it. And when the reality hit yesterday at 5 p.m., when the retentions were announced, I think everybody finds out, and then they have to make up their own mind. What do they read? Who do they listen to? And should they, shouldn't they, etc.
But you were in touch with Shreyas Iyer, right? And you clearly just said.
Obviously, we are in touch constantly. And, in fact, even before the rules came out, he's somebody that I always felt was our at the core of our decision making, and therefore, we had discussions around if they allow 6, who should we retain? If they allow 7, who should we retain? If they allow 8, how should we go? Should we go to the auction? Should we keep the so all those types of discussions happening. So it's almost comical when I read that the franchise was not in touch or whatever. It's
even I have to sort of own up, because as far as Andre Russell is concerned, again, I had reached out to you at that point in time. You very fairly said we will speak after the process is over, and I'm putting that on record. There was a lot of speculation on Andre Russell, and including myself. When I got to put my hand up, even I said that. Was there any consideration ever, or Andre Russell and Sunil Narayan always family? I mean, not simply Kolkata Knight Riders, but different franchises owned by your stable around the world. Was there ever a consideration?
These two play for all our 4 franchises around the world, and the equation that one builds up also has a big factor. Since Sunil since 2012, Andre since 2014, and we've never allowed them to go into the auction for obvious reasons. I mean, you have a relationship, and like you said, family and whatnot. I mean, obviously that's for sure. But just look at the contributions that they've made to building brand KKR and our on-field performance. I mean, it's interesting that if you look at MVPs of IPL, right? You've had Sunil Narayan, who has had 3 in his career. Andre Russell has had 2 in his career. And all of that is in purple and gold. So it would have been foolish for any franchise like us to even think of, are we going to retain, not retain? I think, they earned the right to basically say, okay, when do they want to say we're done, playing cricket? And I don't think they will say that until such time they keep contributing. So, and wherever you turn around, they are. I mean, it's like, you look at even last year, Andre Russell's strike rate was the highest in the tournament. You know what Sunil Narayan did with the bat and with the ball. So it's a no-brainer. I mean, somebody asked me, what was a no-brainer? Was it a no-brainer, these 6? I said, frankly, 8 or 9 would have been a no-brainer for us from last year. But you're not allowed 8 or 9. So you have to somehow do with the best you can, and also go and build your auction strategy.
One interesting factor was paying the highest to Rinku Singh. Was that conscious? How did that happen? Why 13 crores? I mean, is that something that...
No, there's nothing to it. There's nothing to be read from that. It just so happened that we have the highest regard for him. I think he has the greatest fondness for Knight Riders, because in 2018 is when we picked him. And he was picked.
And what a journey! 50 lakhs to 13 crores?
55 lakhs or whatever. Even in the next auction, next cycle, 22, he went for 65 lakhs or whatever it was. So we kind of fed, this is an opportunity that we have really had. This is the first time we have had an opportunity to retain someone like him and say, he's playing for India, and, he's an outstanding guy. Now he's become an all-rounder now. Not just a batter. He bowls and takes wickets, right? So it was a no-brainer, and you feel good about certain types of players earning the right to certain levels of contracts and things like that. And he's one of them. And so we're very, very happy. I think what we've been really fortunate about over the years, I can tell you, is that whenever we have had opportunities for retentions and auctions and things like that, there's not been somebody who has ever told me, please put me in the auction. Because, the question has always been, how can, would you consider retaining me? Can I be retained? Can I come back? How do I come back in purple and gold, etc.? And sometimes, it's such a difficult conversation, because you have to tell them, listen, I mean, I just can't. I'd love to have the same team. It's an open, that conversation was open when there was a meeting that was held between the BCCI IPL officials and the franchises. We had strongly recommended that there should not be a big auction. You should only have mini auctions going forward. Why would you have a big auction? And how, from a fan standpoint, if the teams go through churn, like today, which teams have retained, which teams have not, And when teams go through a churn, forced churn, then what's the fate of the fans? Many times I tell people that, I'm immersed in this field and it takes me 3-4 games during any new season to figure out who's playing for whom. So imagine the fate of the fans. So that is why it's more important. Sometimes they think that, franchise is being selfish, retention and this and that. But boss, after this will be the 18th year coming up. After 18 years, if we cannot have a system to maintain some continuity with what we do, it's very difficult to build something that will create that connectivity and that tribalism and fan base and things like that. They attach themselves. And so can you imagine when in Eden Gardens, when Rinku Singh walks in, people are chanting Rinku, Rinku, 70,000 people chanting Rinku. They used to reserve that for Andre Russell. They used to reserve that for Brett Lee when he came in. They used to reserve that for Sunil Narayan who comes in, etc., etc. Jacques Kallis, Gautam Gambhir. These were the names. Now, in the last couple of years when they are chanting Rinku, right, you realize that is the kind of bond and attachment that builds up. So you can't sort of take that type of continuity lightly. But there are the rules and you almost have to sort of say, how do we manage through all of these things? In the process, you can only do so much and there'll be some who you can't retain. And
what is the right time? Walk when it's great to crawl. Play when it's great to write. What is the right time? To be a born talent. To be a future champion. To walk alone. Playing under 16 at 12. Facing 20,000 balls with a half-grown spine. What is the right time? Too little to be selected. Too talented to be rejected. The papers, selectors all asking, what is the right time? The right time, it's when you do it. They say you're too young to play, but you're always old enough to dream.
Don't worry about what the future will look like. Just prepare for it. Fearless plans from Aegis Federal Life Insurance help you and your family prepare for the future.
Mr. Mysore, couple of players. I'll ask you a couple of questions in Hindi also. If I see last year and having really closely watched, who was the most difficult one to leave? Shreyas Iyer you've already said, but Philip Salt, for example, what a contribution. Mitchell Stark, for example, that incredible punt, which worked, semi-final, final, playoff, whatever it is. Which was the most, or couple, सबसे ज़्यादा difficult आपके लिए क्या?
And I have to tell you that look at a Vaibhav Arora, a simple, that name doesn't come up, but just look at the contribution that he has made at crucial stages, the semi-final and final, coming in and taking wickets with the new ball and putting the opposition on the back foot. So every single name that you talked about, makes it difficult, certainly makes it difficult to leave out anyone. And when you're told you can only have 6, you have seen we have retained 6. So we've gone the maximum. We really were saying, please don't have, our first approach was saying, please don't have a big auction, make it a mini auction. So it's like teams get to keep the whole squad if they wish to. Right? What's wrong with that? And, increase the number of retentions to, we were saying, give us 8, 8 is, people say, oh my God, 8, and then you realize that when the squad size is 25, 8 is 1/3. When you get to retain only 1/3 of your franchise and still 2/3 you have to build, the other franchises who feels like they have to build something it's okay. 2/3 we're still releasing. So what's the issue there from that perspective? So I think it's something that one needs to really take a close look at how these things would work in the future.
Okay. Last few questions. One, Gautam Gambhir, KKR gets somebody, he gets a national team role, goes away, whether it's an international team role or an Indian team role. Abhishek Nair also left. Thoughts? You have to build another group.
This is always somebody said, it's a feather in your cap. I said, we don't need more feathers. We need our coaches to be left alone. This is not the first time this is happening, by the way. If you look at the history of KKR, Matthew Mott used to be a coach with KKR. He went off to the England team. Trevor Bayliss was a coach that we hired. We won 2 championships under him. He was hired by the England team. Then we bring in a Brendan McCullum, and he's hired by the Indian team. Now Gautam Gambhir, Abhishek Nair, now Ryan Tendulkar, and we were under threat for 1 or 2 more, but somehow it didn't happen. But it's okay. I think I'm saying it's okay because it's good for the people concerned. Because each of them, before they even sort of put their name into the hat or applied for an interview, asked me specifically, and I said, listen, I mean, in my whole career, whatever I've done, I've never come in the way of anybody's progress. So if you feel this is a good thing for you, we'll figure it out. This is a 2-month gig. Of course, when I say 2 months, Abhishek and Tendulkar were involved with our other franchises as well. And it's a round-the-year type of situation. But it's okay. I think we've figured it out already. We've got a Bravo who's a terrific guy. I've worked with him for 10 years in the Caribbean. We've been in CPL for 10 years, by the way. This was our 10th anniversary. We won 4 championships there. And he was the captain for 3 of those. So I have a very close relationship with him. I consider him to be an outstanding leader of men and also a terrific cricketing brain and a very keen eye on for talent and at the same time comes with some he is the most capped T20 player in the world, most number of wickets and runs as an all-rounder, catches. I mean, he's done everything and won more championships than anyone who's played T20 cricket. So it's a fantastic combination for us to have that type of brain trust that's coming in and how it complements somebody like a Chandu Pandit there and a Bharat Tarun who is there and a Karl Crowe who is there and a Nathan Lehman who is already there. So we already have enough people there. We just need to, figure out a little bit more in terms of just adding to certain things. Tendulkar was a fielding coach for us, so we need to figure that out. I've already pretty much sorted it, but I wanted the people, the leadership to have ownership in that, in those types of decisions. So we'll be good.
And leadership, very difficult always. I mean, to get a captain, again, difficult one. Indian captain, always tough, but thoughts?
I think, when the situation presents itself, somebody is going to put up their hand. I mean, just think about how Shreyas Iyer became a captain. I mean, Gautam Gambhir was the captain in Delhi. And when he decided to step down in 2018, Shreyas had never captained in IPL. Suddenly he comes in there and he's captain and he had a little bit of a rough time getting started, whatnot. And then he took them to the final. Then he gets injured. Then he comes to the auction. We pick him. And he, 1 year he gets adjusted. Second year he gets injured again. So to his credit, yes, we built a team around and, respected him, gave him the leadership role, and he contributed in a terrific manner to get us a championship. Of course, the championship comes because of everybody's contribution. But so this is how people suddenly, when they are given those types of responsibilities, they step up to the plate and then move forward with it.
Mr. Mysore, I'll ask this question. If you don't want to answer, don't answer. I mean, while I understand it's a free market, while I understand it's the player and he has to, or anybody has the right to go better. But then there is also, sport is about a lot more than just the numbers. So when you get someone, give him captaincy, stay with that person during injury, back him up, give him the captaincy back, and then this happens when you say he's your number 1 retention, do you feel let down? Do you feel disappointed? Do you feel sad?
I think those are strong words. You ideally feel like, okay, we're going to work this out somehow. But when it doesn't quite happen in that fashion, you have to accept that. That's just the system. That's the system, and it move along. But we're very happy that with 6 of our top players, we reached agreement. And, every single player it's not a slam dunk at all. There are conversations and you have to go through a process and eventually, but everything done in a very cordial manner with the underlying sentiment on their part to say, I want to be back in purple and gold. That is the underlying sentiment. And many of them said, for me, the benchmark is KKR. And I've been only with KKR. I've been only wearing and playing the purple and gold. So I don't want to go anywhere, but I do have certain things that I need to talk to you about. No, yeah, absolutely. It's all fair game. And in the process, if there is a situation where, it doesn't work out with one or two or whatever, then you have to accept that and just move on with it. So I wouldn't say disappointment or whatever. That's just the practical aspect of it. And we just have to deal with that and move on.
Clearly, it's not been an easy process from what you've outlined, and I appreciate that. I mean, you
because it involves people. It never is. It involves people. It involves people with whom you built a relationship, and obviously nobody is sitting down and taking a judgment call on skill sets, and people can say, oh, he doesn't have a national contract, and he's had injury issues, and he's not in the national setup. I said that all of those things don't matter one bit. Yeah. And it is something, when Sunil Narine went through tough times, when he had his action related issues, whatnot, he never give up on any one of those people. So Andre Russell was banned in 2017 for, it was a very technical reason. WADA, whatnot. They had not even submitted some of his whereabout reports and all that. But you don't give up on them. I had a contract ready. He still talks about it. When it came to 2018 retention, we had a contract ready before even this happened. So he fondly talks about that. And everyone knows what he's come and done and contributed. So it's a difficult process, like you put it, because it's not something that is a very clinical, sitting down in front of a computer and figuring it out. It is about people. It's about and it's about, ultimately we know what they're capable of doing on the field. So nobody's, casting any judgment on that. Are there other players who are better, worse, equal, whatnot? I'm sure there are. The number of players who are coming into the auction is, it makes your head spin actually right now when you start thinking about it. But you want your players back. That's the bottom line. Because they also have that sentiment towards you. We have the same, and the onus is on us to figure it out.
This has not been an easy interview. It has. I appreciate you opening up like this, because it sort of gave me a feel. I'm sure everybody who will watch this will get a feel how challenging it is. How challenging it is for a franchise, not one but all 10 maybe, to go through this retention process, and how difficult it is at times, because human emotions, bondings, loyalty, trust built over the years, they come into play. Yep. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for sort of spending some time with me and getting out all of these perspectives, candid as usual, and wish you all the very best for the auction, and all the very best as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.